Hello again, welcome back to the shed. Need a bigger shed. It's been a while since I've done a video. I've been busy with work, my photography stuff, other projects. I've been busy with Clive, family, holidays. Anyway, a new toy in the shed. All about this. Well, not actually that, that's part of it. This is the main thing. Oops. Finally, I got myself a mitre saw, a powered one. I've been borrowing them. I've made my own, a circular saw and a jig. So I got this. It was on a special deal, DeWalt DWS774. It's only a small saw, but for what I need, it's probably more than enough. Not only that, I also got this that goes with it. There you go. A stand, which was in the deal, DE7033. So let's have a look. So that's it out the box. What can we see immediately? Well, it's small. It's lightweight, which is nice. It's got a cast machine chassis. It's locked in its position still for transport. There you go. We can go straight up. So the idea is, of course, everybody's acquainted with a mitre saw, I'm sure. The idea is you can cut different angles with it. 90 degrees, 45, anything in between. And this one you can do compound cuts on this side. Compound cut, so that means you can cut in both angles at the same time, which is pretty handy. Now, what I don't know is, of course, this is relatively cheap saw, how accurate it is. On the bottom plate here, I'll just move that. I've locked it. Where did I lock it? I'll pull it up. This is a bottom guide plate here. You can just see that, I think. That gives us our 90 degrees and all the angles and what have you, and in between. But this is adjustable. We've got 3 screws in here, I think. It's pretty typical for a mitre saw. So you can adjust that a little bit. And then you've got locking pins for different angles, which is very handy. Now, of course, everything should be spot on out the factory, but that's not always the case. So whenever you're buying a new machine, you have to check first with a few test cuts that everything is tickety-boo. You can hear that locking in. Just lift this lever up and then lock it with that in position. If you can lock in between the location points, that is, so lift that up. That's locked on 90 degrees, and yeah, the table's wiggling, it's on wheels, but the machine isn't moving, so that's a pretty good sign. And then you can lock it up if you want. So in between, you can go in between a click, somewhere like that. It says it's 5 degrees, the reading here, and then you can lock that off. Now, I've just got it out of the box, so I don't know exactly how it all works. It's locked down, so I'm guessing, oh there we go, there's a pin there. It's pretty typical with these sorts of stores. You've got a locking pin for safety, for transport. So let's just pull that out, lift it up, and the saw's ready to go. Now, what's cool about this saw is, like so many others, it's a pull saw, but the rails don't stick out the back. More often than not, these rails that you see here are fixed to the motor head, which is that bit, and they'll slide through the machine and stick out. So when you put it next to a wall, you always bang into the wall with the rails. And that's what I liked about this machine, that the rails were included in the motor housing, so we shouldn't have that problem. So Got some accessories and bits and pieces, and a good old manual. About 400 languages probably, guarantee. Bits and pieces, so I'll have a quick flick through that. I'll put it together and I'll set it up for the first cut. Saw, put together, done. Pretty straightforward. Two handles in the packet, plastic handles for picking up the machine, makes it quite handy to move around, although it does add, how much is that going to be? Probably about 20 centimeters to the width of the machine, so it's going to take up more space. There's you can see that in this handle there's a secret Allen key, which is for doing up the screws. So they're just I think there were 5mm bolts. There's a captive nut underneath, so they can come off pretty easily. And that end will be for the saw blade, I guess. Yep, so we'll have a look at that in a minute. So that can go in there. What else was in the kit? This work clamp, which is just a bit of cast alloy, typical screw thread, and a post which can go on either side of the machine, but this one side it's going to be a bit in the way, I think, if you want to do a compound cut. Let's have a look. Yeah, you're going to have to be careful there. So that's going to get in the way, that side. So you won't be able to clamp your work that side. You have to clamp it on the other side. So it will go to 45 degrees. It's not saying quite 45 on my scale here. I have to check that. The locking clamp behind it, and as I already mentioned, it'll go this way to just over 45 degrees that way, so about 48 degrees, and this way the same, 48 degrees, but it locks on the 45, so then we've got 45 here. It's good to see on here there's some holes, so what you can do, you can add cheeks, I used to call them. I don't know what the official term is. You can put a bit of ply on here, across there, so that you can narrow this gap and you can make a zero cut. Now that's all getting a bit technical. Maybe I should do another video on all that. Yeah, whatever. Anyway, you can screw something to that, so it's quite good. There's holes in there. There's a scale on here which will be a proxy mate, because each of these grooves is about 2mm wide, so if you want 10 centimeters you're going to be plus and minus a bit. But anyway, that goes up to 20, goes from 5, 10, 15, 20 centimeters on there. Sorry, no, inches on there. I guess the US market would have a different machine for that. Right, here, we'll connect it up in a minute. This is good to see. This is the DeWalt airlock connector, which goes straight onto the extraction systems. We've got a safety trigger on here, so you've got to push that down, press the button in, and then pull the trigger. Now, I've read on some of the forums and seen videos that that's a bit of a pig if you're left-handed. Yeah, I can see that. Although it's finger in and pull, and you press the safety and that. That's releasing the blade guard, and that's locked until you press that. Okay, the other way around. Yeah, okay. This comes with a standard 30 tooth 216mm blade, which is a good all-rounder. I wouldn't say that's going to be bad. But I did buy a 216 60 tooth blade, which is better for boards, veneered boards, ply and stuff like that. 30mm spindle hole, so that's pretty standard blade. So that will go on pretty quickly because I've got to do some boards straight away. I haven't got the stand out yet, I'll do that in a minute. Okay, first things first, cable always comes with a cable tie on it. Never plug it in and use the machine like that, always get the cable tie off, otherwise you're going to get a resistance here and a build up of electricity and heat and blow everything to pieces. So let's plug it in. Actually, before I plug it in, I'm going to just do a quick safety check. Because it's out the machine, out the box from the factory, I'm just going to check that the blade is tight. So there's another spanner in the box, which is for blade. I don't quite know what that pin is for yet. There yet. I'll have to have a look in the book, I guess. Yep, we're tight. Okay, that's good. Plug it in. See what it says. Oh yeah, there we go. That's working. Right. What you also noticed was when I push it on, you can just see it reflecting there. There's a light there, and this is called now. Right, I looked it up. It's called the DeWalt XPS technology. This light. What it does, I'll do it in a close-up shot, is it shines a light down both sides of the blade. Okay, so it shines a light down both sides, and that, if you put a bit of wood on there, oh, I can't see it yet. Oh wow, I can see it from here. I'll put a camera on that. It gives you the exact line of the blade, so you're not going to mess up. Okay, this is a better angle. Looky, looky, this is clever. So what it's doing, it's shining the light down both sides of the blade. It gives you a perfect shadow, so you can follow your pencil line exactly. Now, I'm quite curious how good that is actually. What we would traditionally do would just draw a pencil line, and then with your wooden cheeks here you would line the pencil line up with the gap from the saw. Now we've got just a big opening, and that would be your cut line. Or you would spin up the saw, so this would be spinning, and you'd come down and then just move it a little bit and then just trim it, and there you go. So, right, get the vacuum on, get a bit of work on, and see how it cuts. So that's the DeWalt tube, the airlock system. So it locks onto your tools. Very handy, and that's just an adapter that fits onto the standard tubes. Now, traditionally, you'd have just a rubber thing you bung into the hole in the machine, but that's not very good. So this locks in. I think pretty much all the tools I have from DeWalt have that receptacle thing on there which locks on. If they don't, like Clive, the CNC, I print something, I 3D print the male version which locks onto that. That's not Clive the CNC though, that's for vacuuming the bench and Clive. So just 3D printed a thingy, stuck it on the brush, off we go. Anyway, this fits onto the back of this new saw. So it locks on, like so. That can't fall off now. Got a piece of wood ready, saw's powered up. Let's give it a cut. Right, at first glance, it cuts very clean. It's a brand new blade, of course, so that's very nice clean cut on this. I think this is red alder. I rescued this from a sauna that was being destroyed, so I just ripped all the planking out. I've got a ton of it. The cuts seem nice and clean. I'll put the square up and have a look. I've got a square here. Let's have a looky. Yep, I'm okay with that. No light going through. Looks pretty good to me. I'll do some more accurate tests. There are other ways of doing tests for squareness. But at first glance, if you're cutting a skirting board, which I've got to do for the bathroom, the plinths, they're about that size actually, that cut is bang on. That's going to be perfect. I'll just have to check all the mitre settings. So we move the blade around here to 45 or whatever. Where's 45? That angle there. So you can cut it like that, which is good. You can still get a skirting board on there. How big is that? It's got a 65mm, that piece of wood. So you've got quite a bit of cut. You can go up to 80mm, I think. Or, just going to unplug it first. Safety first. I'm going to start playing with the blade. I could rotate the saw this way and cut my 45-degree angle like so. A lot depends on what you're more comfortable with. If you've put the wooden cheeks on here, like I suggested, I mentioned, then you're going to have a higher backstop for your wood anyway. So your wood is going to be more secure when you cut against that on both sides. So if you stand a piece of wood up and cut it like that, what's going to happen is, pull the guard up, you've got a lot of support. The wood can't rotate anyway, so you've got a lot of support to come down. This side I've just seen is, yeah, I can do 65mm. What's happening is, it's bashing on the bottom of the motor here. That's your limiting factor of depth. So you could cut, I don't know what it says on the box, I haven't looked, but with that blade you'd get a 70mm cut on that, I guess. And it will cut this way, so if you pull it out, it'll cut from there to there, which is 200mm, I believe. I should have read all this first, shouldn't I? Yeah, it'll cut a board of 200mm wide. So that's pretty good. It's only a small machine, and they get bigger and bigger and bigger, and then you can go up to 300mm, 400mm probably, but then you're going to have a massively heavy machine. That, for what I need to cut small pieces usually, and 200mm, 20 centimeters will be fine. But I have to do some more tests on it first. So I've just had a few cuts on the machine with a bit of a scrap timber. I did the first 45 mitre, which would be what it's for, as it's a mitre saw, and it's not bang on with this guide. So it's got adjustment on it, as I already mentioned. So what I'm going to have to do, I'm going to have to loosen that, get some good board or wood that's clean and square, and do some tests to adjust that. It's microscopically, I mean this would do, if you can see it on there. It's good, it's good, but you know, it's not bang on. For a skirting board it's absolutely perfect. If you're going to start doing intricate constructions with accurate mitres, right now, out the box, you're not going to get a perfectly closed joint. And literally, that's the first mitre cut I've done. So, fair game, fair game. Right, that was a very, very quick out the box on the bench and the first few cuts of the DWS774 from DeWalt. It's a very compact, lightweight saw. There's actually no effort to pick that up at all. I'm surprised. It's very capable. It does 200mm wide cut, 45, 45, 45 on the compounds, as you'd expect. I still have to check triple check the accuracy of the indented rail, the locking rail. The first cut I made, literally the first cut, felt a bit off. But if it's just for plinths you're using it, for skirting around the laminate floor or something, bang on. But if you want to do larger constructions, I think it's got to be checked. The carrying handles make it very handy for carrying it, obviously. I don't think it's necessary, because you can get your hands underneath the metal plate and move it, so you will save space by not putting the handles on there if you're not going to be moving it a lot. Dust extraction, good. With the DeWalt system, could always be better, but you've got an open blade, so the efficiency of the extraction is going to be lost by sucking air from here rather than just around the blade. But that's pretty typical. XPS light system, which DeWalt calls it, seems to be very handy. It shines the light down both sides of the blade, so you get a shadow line, which is your saw blade thickness, which should make it quicker and more efficient to cut to your lines. What else? I like the sliding rail system, which slides as part of it goes into the motor, so it's actually in the motor rather than fixed to the motor head and slides out the back, so it doesn't bang into things. Otherwise that's sticking out here, which increases the footprint of your machine substantially. That's pretty handy. Maybe I should do another video if people are interested on the cheeks that I mentioned for making something in here. It's quite straightforward, but it will make life a lot easier and actually a lot safer. This area here behind the blade, whatever you do, keep that clear of debris. If that saw blade comes back and there's little slithers or 45-degree wedges from doing mitres, that is a fair chance that it's going to come up and smack you in the teeth. I know, I've had that. It's not nice. So maybe I'll do another video with some tips and tricks on setting up and getting the optimum out of a saw. So stick that in a comment below if you want to see that. So there you go, that's it. That's the DWS774 in a nutshell. I'm going to calibrate it all and do some work because I've got to put some skirting board around upstairs in the bathroom. Once again, thank you for watching. Need a bigger shed. So yeah, welcome outside the shed. There's the shed. I forgot to add this. This is the other box that was in the video. It's the stand for the mitre saw. It all folds up, the legs fold up underneath. You've got a handle on it, so you can just stick it in the van or the car, in the corner of the shed, whatever. I probably won't use it much in the shed. It'll be more for cutting timber outside. But why? Well, you've got this much work table on here, so if you want to cut a long piece of wood, it's wobbling around over here. So now with this, what you do is you slide this out, lock that. You can take all this off and run your board over it. It all slides around, and you can use that as a stop. You can slide a board on top, so you can do boards all the way this long, bits of wood, whatever, safely and securely, because that will be the same height as the table there once adjusted. Beautiful. So now you don't have to scrabble around on the floor with bits of wood wedged under the end of your mitre saw to keep it up and safe. How does it all work? Well, it's not fixed on at the moment because I've just dropped it on for the quick video, but that bolts onto there. That bolts through these arms, and these arms can just unclick like that, and you slide all that in like this. That all slides in, and then flip it over, legs up, there you go. Stick it in the corner of the workshop or in the car, job done. All that as one bundle. I was quite impressed. I'll do some more videos on it later. Thanks for watching. Need a bigger shed.